Welcome to another podcast of the ROI of Yoga, a podcast dedicated to shed light into the benefits of yoga. The timing of this podcast is unique as it is released on the 1st of January, and it is a time of the year that a lot of people set goals. It is a time of the year that people are enthusiastic about achieving things that they have not for a long time or even changing their path in their life. And in the process of doing that, affirmations is something that comes very much into play. They may instinctively decide to introduce some affirmations, while affirmations, I think, a lot of the times are encouraged by coaches and teachers. Affirmations is something that I use a lot in my teaching as well, but I will tell you that most affirmations are not really having any results. And this is today's topic is when do affirmations work and when they don't. And this is an interesting time because hopefully you had the chance to reflect on the previous year, and if you don't, I will encourage you to take some time to do that. It's still probably early before your schedule gets busy with the obligations of January, and think how many of the things that you said in the last year were materialized. And this kind of check in with yourself will probably help you to tell which things you are really realizing progress and which things you are not, independent of if you are using affirmations or not. I get a lot of messages from my students that a lot of them are abroad at the moment. They are on holidays and they send me either pictures of their practice or updates on how their life is. And when I receive these messages, it is obvious to me that my students have improved. It is obvious to me when I receive an image of them or a video of them that this is something that they were not capable of doing back in the summer. Or if they are reporting that they are able to rest well, they have increased heart rate variability, and they are able to spend time with their kids and exercise on their holidays, is that this is partly the result of the work that we've done together, whether it was through breath work or supplementation that we discussed or nutritional changes. So progress is evident. And if you realize it, you know, and if you are just setting goals that they never materialize, you also know. And in today's podcast, I would like to split it into two parts and tell you first what are the key ingredients of realizing progress. What do you need to do, whether you use affirmations or not, in order to achieve your goals? And in the second part, I will tell you how you can use affirmations to accelerate this achieving your goals. What is the role of affirmations in this process? And once I come to speak about affirmations, you will realize that they are not magic phrases or magic things that you have to pull out of a hat, but they have to be rooted into reality. I think it will become evident. But let's start with the five key ingredients of achieving your goals. The first one is that your goals need to be in line with your values. Now, this may seem obvious, may seem a little bit vague, but it is, if it's obvious, it's great. If it is vague, I have to tell you that it should not be. You and I and everybody we know has a certain set of values. And based on these values, ideally, they are determining their actions. These values actually determine their actions and ultimately determine the success in the actions that they take. What do I mean by that? Let's say that you are valuing highly your physical appearance. Probably, if that's the case, you put a lot of energy into that, and maybe you spend a lot of time looking after your physical appearance and so on. So it is a value of yours, and you are manifesting this result. If you are saying that you value your physical appearance, but you don't spend any time in it, then clearly there is a mismatch there. So either you are setting priorities in your life that they are not in line with your values, so as a result you cannot achieve your goal, or you don't really value your physical appearance. The physical appearance is something that potentially has been imposed to you by God knows whom, and you think you value it, but in reality you don't. So I would encourage you to first do an inventory, if you don't have already, of what are your values are before you set any goals. And if you don't know how to do that, if you don't know what your values are, I will give you a very shortcut. This is a process that I do a lot of the times when I work with people and they tell me that they come to me because they have anxiety or high levels of stress. And this is very necessary for me to dispel any delusions that they may have, because if we're trying to get them out of a stressful situation that they have put voluntarily themselves into, they will only be able to move out of it if they are going to act based on what is really important to them, not based on what's important to me or what they think it is important to them, what they really is important to them. But in a very quick way, you can identify what your values are by looking at these 4 areas of your life. The first one is, where are your thoughts? What are the things that you are thinking on an ongoing basis? The second one is where your money goes. Where do you spend most of your money? Is it in consumables? Is it on certain hobbies that you have or people that you have? If you spend a lot of time in your kids, probably are your kids very high in your values. If you're spending a lot of money in your hobbies and your exercise regime, probably you value a lot exercising. That's one of my values. The next one is your time. What do you spend time in? If you're spending a lot of time in about reading about things, you probably value learning. And finally, it is your space. So you can look at your space and see, what is your space surrounded by? If your space is, again, going back to a mother that is valuing a lot her children, chances are that her space is surrounded by toys. But imagine another mother that is having her space surrounded by gym equipment. She may be a mother, but she probably values a lot, probably more than her children, her exercise regime. And there's nothing wrong here with saying what is right and what is wrong, because there is nothing wrong and nothing right, as long as we live based on our values. And not only live, but also set goals, because if we set goals that are not in line with our values, chances are that we will not realize them. If you're saying that you're valuing having a six-pack or being strong in your body, and you don't think much about it, you don't schedule any that at all whenever you plan your week and your months, you don't spend any money on training around increasing your strength, you don't allocate any time on it, and you don't have any equipment around to help you do that, then chances are that you don't really value a six-pack. And that's absolutely fine, but just be realistic. The second part is that will determine you realizing your goals is your actions. Now, your actions needs to be trackable. I remember there was a time in the past that a long time ago that someone contacted me and she wanted to do online training with me. Online training is something that I do on a very rarely, because it does determine a lot of determination from the person, because I'm not coaching someone in real time. I'm just providing a program, and then they have to complete it on their own, which not everybody has this determination. But anyway, and one of the things that we're discussing in terms of their goals was that she wanted to lose weight. And that was a valid goal. I thought for her, she probably would benefit by losing some weight. But then she told me that she was not keen on weighing herself. And the moment that she told me that she's not keen on weighing herself, I knew that this is not a goal that she's ever going to achieve until she decides to start weighing herself. Because if you don't track any progress, chances are that you're not going to realize this progress. So your actions need to be trackable. If you're going to be working towards improving your yoga practice. Let's say you are want to improve your flexibility in back bends. Let's make it very, very simple. You need to have a way of tracking at least the number of workouts that you do. You need to be practicing 2 or 3 or probably 4, even better, times a week, a routine that lasts between 30 minutes and 1 hour of back bends. If that's not the case, and if you're not able to tell that and track that week in, week out, you do that, this is, by the way, the most basic of all, tracking that you just show up. There are other things that you can track, and of course, depending on who you work with, maybe with your coach, he can help you quantify more. The more quantifiable, by the way, the things that you track, the better it is, but sometimes it's not always possible. But the more you track the things that you want to achieve, the more likely you are to realize your goal. So your actions need to be trackable. The third thing that you need to keep in mind in order to realize your goals is that you need to allocate some resources into that. The reality is that your day and my day and everybody's day has 24 hours. And we all will fill our day with things. You probably have been having your days full, whether you are sleeping 10 hours or 8 hours, or you are working 12 hours or 8 hours, or you are not working, your day is full. So in order to achieve a new goal, you need to sift some resources. The resources will be potentially time, potentially money. I would imagine that a lot of you don't have infinite amount of financial resources. And these resources need to be according to your priorities. So you may set a few goals, but maybe your resources allow you to achieve only a few. This can be even within yoga practice, but even overall in your life. I will suggest that you make sure that your resources are in line with the goals that you have set. The fourth thing is that coaching is very, very useful. Coaching works on many, many levels, and I will mention just 3 that makes them almost makes coaching almost irreplaceable. Keep in mind that I'm someone that always tells that self-practice cannot be replaced by practicing with the teacher, but also practicing with the teacher cannot be replaced with self-practice. So I'm not someone that says that you should always practice with a coach. I have students that they only practice with me, and I have students that they practice mostly on their own and they see me once a week. And that's either way, it is fine. But there are 3 things that a coach, a teacher cannot be replaced by. And the one is accountability. Obviously, he or she will be there. He or she will make sure that things are done. And if things are not done at the intensity or frequency that is needed, he will be able to advise you accordingly. The second one is give balanced feedback. Now, feedback is one thing, but being balanced is the most important, I would argue. And what do I mean by balanced? Wherever your practice is at the moment, there are some things that are going well, or they are already in a quite good state, and some things that need to be improved. In my opinion, a healthy feedback, healthy coaching, healthy teaching will shed light onto both areas. I would hope that I've been spending equal amount of time pointing out to my students their weaknesses as much as their strengths. I'm not there to play the cheerleader for my students, but I'm not there either to put them down and make them feel crap for not being able to achieve yet what they are there to achieve. I'm there to keep things realistic. If they have not achieved their goal yet, it's because something is missing. But if their goal is a valid goal and we have agreed on that for them, they are already having a lot of the prerequisites needed in order to achieve their goal. So I would say that this is something that I always been seeking from my teachers, and I've been getting, and that's something I always provide to my students. It's not always about like saying how amazing people are, but at the same time, it's not a matter of always pointing out on what is not working, because the reality is that for everyone there are things that are not ideal. In my practice, there are many things that are not ideal. This does not stop me from progressing and enjoying actually the practice. And the final thing about coaching that makes it irreplaceable is helping people navigate through the journey. Wherever you are, whatever your goal is just gonna be 1 or 2 or 10 steps forward from where you are now. But this is never gonna be the end of the journey. And hopefully the teacher that you are working with is many steps ahead of you. So that he or she can help you not only get where you want, but also sail further forward. I've used this sailing metaphor, navigating metaphor word metaphorically, so that you can understand that if you get things just about right, you may have to unlearn things soon in order to take a step forward. But if you learned something in the right way, you would be very quickly ready to progress further. And this is something that I see a lot, and it's very obvious to me when I see people coming to me and they show me what they are capable of doing, but I can tell they have learned them in the wrong way. And it is a little bit of a shame. I feel bad because although I'm happy to help them move forward, I know that they have to spend as much time unlearning what they think they know before they are able to pursue their next goal. And finally, the last thing that will determine whether you are realizing your goals is to keep them realistic. Now, a realistic goal is something that is feasible and there is evidence that you can progress towards it. A realistic goal will be determined by many factors. The time that you can allocate into it is one of them. In physical aspects, your weight might be one of them. Potentially, even your financial resources might be one of them. Now, if you set a goal that will require you to achieve something, provided you spend 100 hours, but then in the next year you can only allocate 30 hours, this is probably not going to be a good goal for you. But if you are to be achieving something that requires 100 hours and you are able to allocate between 100 and 200 hours, this is probably a good goal for you, because chances are that you may not actually achieve it by the end of the year, but even beforehand. And momentum is what keeps us interested towards the pursuit of our goals. So keeping it realistic is very important. Now, with these things in mind, I will want to speak about how you can use affirmations. Affirmations have to be, in my opinion, have 5 qualities. The first one is they have to be very specific. The affirmation is not a matter of achieving necessarily your end goal, but achieving your next step. Let's say someone that is trying to learn how to handstand. Depending on how comfortable they are with kicking up, it might be for someone to just kick up and just find the wall with both feet. That might be where the affirmation should come in, to just go up and find the wall with both feet. Not to handstand at the edge of a cliff with a lot of wind blowing at the same time. That's not a realistic goal for someone that is having problems with kicking up. Someone that always kicks up and finds the wall no problem comfortably, maybe the affirmation should be on the drill that he or she is working at the time. And maybe it will be of kicking up near the wall but not touching the wall. So finding balance for a few seconds without touching the wall. You see how specific I'm making these drills and these affirmations. And these affirmations are very, of course, theoretical, because obviously I don't have someone in front of me, but they are not theoretical at all, because I had students in that stage and that was what the goal I was asking them to achieve next were. Now, apart from being very specific, the goals have to be relatable to their level. And this is something I have already addressed. But relatable to their level maybe means that also there are other complementary things that need to be addressed. So, for example, someone, let's say that he or she, go back to the example of handstands. An affirmation might be to hold for a few extra seconds, or to achieve a couple of more pike push-ups that potentially will have a big carryover in their strength to achieve a handstand. Now you may think, okay, is really a few more pike push-ups really a good affirmation? I would argue that it depends on the person, because there are a lot of people that will, for psychological reasons, give up before they are completing the set of whatever it is, let's say 5. So with that in mind, I will argue that the affirmations have to be, again, specific, but related to their level and achievable. Now, using all your senses when it comes to affirmation is also going to be very important. And what do I mean? Affirmations, a lot of the times we can think of them as visual, but the reality is that they are very much linked with other things that we feel. So, for example, in the example of the handstands, how the pressure that your hands feel and your shoulders should be part of how you are creating the affirmations, whether it is on mantras. A lot of the times I'm breaking things down into what are the things that are missing. So, for example, I will tell my student, before you kick, go through your mind. I call them sometimes check-ins. Shoulders stable, hips locked, active fingertips. And usually I will set first the goal, the affirmation that is most challenging for them. Sometimes I will set first the goal that is more important in terms of timing. But in general, the affirmations, as you see, are very, very specific. They are very relevant to my students' level, and they are also involve all their senses. It's not just kick up and then levitate, because this is not going to be much help. Now, in other things, maybe the use of the breath might be needed. If I'm working with someone on stress, maybe we use even other senses such as smell and so on. Maybe we will use essential oils. But ultimately, the thing is that we want to use as many senses as possible. The fourth way to use affirmation, the fourth quality of affirmations, is to practice them regularly. Affirmations is not something that we want to practice only once every Sunday when you review your week. As I've said, throughout the practice, I'm asking them, if in the case of handstands, before every attempt, people to check in. And I can tell after a while when someone starts doing that, because there is this extra pause that I can tell they are going through the affirmations that I have given them, through the mantras that potentially they run through their head. And finally, in order for affirmations to be having a result, is that they need to be focused. They need a focused mind. And this is so important, because it is so easy to get distracted, to feel, oh, you know what, I'm paying someone, have blocked this time in my schedule, so that's enough. And it's not enough. We need to be mentally focused. Whichever way I'm working with people, whether I'm only working with them and they are training with me, or whether they are I'm seeing them on once a week and they do some training on their own, I will check in with them and I will say, how did you feel in this exercise? How did you experience this training? And when they tell me, oh, this training was crap, this training, or I don't know, I don't accept that as an answer. Not because it's not real, because I know that they can go many levels further and start paying attention to how they felt. Why it was not successful, if it was not successful. If it was successful, what they were doing at the time that helped them succeed in this practice. What have they done the previous night? What did they did in their life the previous night before they had a good night's sleep? If improving their sleep is something that we're working on. So there is a mental focus that is needed that will make affirmations work. And these are the ingredients, these 5 ingredients, which I will quickly review for you, making them specific, making them relatable to your level, using all your senses, practicing them regularly, and finally staying focused with them, that will make affirmations successful. Now, I hope you found this episode useful, and I will want you to write down and see how you can implement these 5 qualities of affirmations in your goals that you have set for 2022. I want you to message me, whether it is directly from my website or on social media, and let me know if you need help in terms of applying this information into your goals. Because I'm confident that these rules of affirmations are applicable to all your goals. And if you have not been able to find the link, I will be more than happy to help you. One more time, my name is Anastasis Janis. I'm a yoga teacher based in London, and a lot of my work is about helping people achieve what before they thought it was impossible. I a lot of the times hoping to make what is now possible to become easy and even a habit. And in this process, affirmations are very, very useful, but they often have to be updated, and so that they are relevant with the state that my students are at the time. Thank you very much for listening. If you found this episode useful, feel free to share with your friends, and as always, I would love to hear from you through social media or directly on my website. Thank you very much for listening.